General Mkhwanazi, I was instructed to lay low, and I did so. And then there was no way we could ever do other things. Remember, a project file that comes from a DNC, for example, will go, you will have a look at it. You'll never take any paper home. You'll look at it, and then your handler will tell you, these are the things that I think you must do. And you concentrate on the work that you have been given. So, like I say, similarly in Madlanga, if you checked in Madlanga, there's one witness who was murdered, but he was never given a name. They called him Witness D. Chairperson, the reason that witness was able to be identified and killed is because whether you are hidden on the screen or you call yourself Witness J, the moment you speak of events, series of events, how they unfolded, everything, whoever was involved will remember, but yeah, this is Brown. So the moment I come and say, for example, there is probably through my handler, the Committee of Intelligence, they know these things properly. They may just decide to summon one commissioner in the police or in the crime detection probably, and to the handler, because already I have spoken about this. Then one can give that information on what is it that I'm talking about. But to say investigations are on or not on, it's only my handler who knows how and where these things are at the moment.
Yeah, but in paragraph 19, you say, General Mkhwanazi called you and detailed your responsibilities. So the evidence leader is asking you, what were those responsibilities as detailed by General Mkhwanazi?
Oh, yes, I caught that reason. Yes, one was from the suspension of these divisional commissioners. Obviously, you will be given 4 or 5 sources who were working, for example, in Pretoria, those who work maybe in the head office, provincial office of Gauteng, that in these offices you'll find so and so. He'll go and talk to him, tell him I sent you. Play low, he'll give you what you want, and obtain information, submit the information. So those kind of responsibilities will mean go to the, like when they bought vehicles and laptops, they'll say, go to the finance section. In finance section, you'll get someone who will tell you, indeed, they bought all these things and they're not giving to members to use. Or indeed, so much money was withdrawn, they said, who is going to the operation wherever, and that never took place. Now, immediately when they say the money was withdrawn, was given to class, it means your task is to look for class. So I don't know how will I put that in writing of all the responsibilities that was given.
Okay, so we're going to move on, but before we do that, because this is your statement and you deposed to it to assist the committee with its terms of reference as you've put out in your statement in paragraph 4. So what is the committee to do with your information that you've given about your work with General Mkhwanazi? Before we move on, how do you want us to view this? How is it going to be of any assistance? What are you trying to tell us with that?
You see, on paragraph 4.1 to 4.4, this does not come from General Mkhwanazi.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking in the bigger scheme and of assisting the committee, what should we take away from your engagement with General Mkhwanazi that you've referred to in your statement?
None of Yeah, you see now on paragraph 4.4, these somehow were related, but did not include your Metropolis division. I know of someone who was dealing with these metro officers who were extorting money from Pakistanis and what. There's another colleague of mine who was working on that. But I'm saying part of 4.4, it resonates with a bit of what General Mkhwanazi would want us to deal with.
Okay. Now, shall we move on to paragraph 24, where you deal with the operations conducted in relation to General Mkhwanazi? And you deal with that from paragraph 24, I believe, to paragraph 64. Now, in paragraph 24, you allege that General Mkhwanazi worked with the CIA, and you obtained that information from King Msizulu. No, sorry, King Msizulu and General Mkhwanazi were recruited, and they actively worked for and with the CIA. Where do you get that information?
Yes, remember, as I said, the information will come as a task by the handler. But you will not come and say, yeah, they are recruited, and you keep quiet. Now, if we continue to read on the part of the International Criminal Court, where South African government took Israel there, it's when we started realizing now, when we started talking, because of the terminal, the coal terminal in Richards Bay. The contract and the arrangement, majority of that coal goes to Israel. And during that time, because I also went sometime, the brother to King Msizulu, he was also trying to engage this other Chinese company. I don't know what is it that they were working on. But soon after that, that is when my handler and his colleague from KZN in Nongoma, they said, you know, ever since this Israeli thing, we've been attacked, and members of the PKTT are coming up and down at the Royal House to Smakade. And in my statement, I do confirm that we did make contact. They did make contact, and they came to Gauteng, and they stayed in Midrand, where we facilitated the opening of a case against General Mkhwanazi. And that case number is also appearing here. Now, in the docket of the case, the information, the A1 statement from the aide and the brother to the prince, he did mention all. I did not take the copy of the docket, but I still have contact with the person who came to open the case. He did mention the harassment and how most of the time the fight about this is related to the terminal, to the Richards Bay thing, and how they want to extend the contract of the Israelis. That's the statement which came from the aide and the prince. And the case was registered and transferred to Nongoma because of jurisdictional purpose.
We'll get to that later into your statement. But
The
this,
CIA.
yeah, it's a very serious allegation, because you're dealing with somebody who is the provincial commissioner of KZN, and you're saying that this person is also working or protecting Western interests,
Yes.
going against what he's tasked to do in his current position. You did make an attempt to deal with investigations that you've done in relation to confirming that he was, or you did a follow-up on
Yeah,
your
you see,
suspicion.
thank you. You see, there are things that when someone speaks, you'll listen to. I'll give you an example. Remember he once said, he spoke here, said things started becoming bad when members started calling each other comrades, and how he trained in America, all those things, and how he defended whoever is contracted in that coal thing. That's where the thinking came from, but it doesn't necessarily mean it came from me. It came as a task to establish that since the case has been opened like this by this royal house member, it means there are allegations.
Tasked you.
Then obviously his only one person is my handler.
Your handler was not the one that engaged with former Minister Natin Tetwa. In your statement, you say you had suspicions. You then, out of your own accord, that's how it appears in your statement, decided to get in contact with the former minister to discuss why he previously decided to get rid of General Mkhwanazi. And on those suspicions, you then acted and then decided on your own accord to follow up on context that the former minister gave you.
Yes, exactly. But the word on accord, in my personal, when I act, is based on wanting to achieve, trying to complete or continue with my investigation. If the instruction or here's the task, we have to establish based on the case. Remember, there was a case open, and what the A1 talks to all those things. And the case number is here. Now you start acting, you look at all these things that has transpired. That's why you also find when I started talking to General Mkhwanazi, I spoke about the case that took place of a correctional officer. It's because you are looking generally at everything that has happened. Then you start thinking, okay, what happened to, let me ask the former minister, actually, what was the problem with this and that? And then and remember, there were still suspicions, and there are still suspicions, but they are based on the statement that was written on the Times. Now, he then said there is someone in Kenya who also has similar suspicions and so forth. And in Madlanga, I think when we were preparing, they thought there was no need to submit any proof that I went to Kenya. And during the session, then it came out I could not produce anything. Hence now, I've put it on my statement and brought my passport to show you. Indeed, I went to Kenya, I met this particular guy, and I said, he gave me this particular name, which I don't believe, but he still said, yes, he knew. There was suspicion, he was aware of that. But it's very, very difficult to say, to prove if someone is an agent. Like I say, a CIA agent, and I'm talking myself an agent. The same way I say it's difficult to realize, it's going to be very difficult to prove that, but it's based on the case.
So is there currently an investigation against General Mkhwanazi because he's protecting Western interests, in particular relating to the coal interest that you're referring to? Is there currently such an investigation?
No, I cannot confirm, but there's no, I don't know of any investigation. It will be